Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 28th of August 2014. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. 10 young tuatara from Hamilton Zoo have headed off to a new home. The 10 reptiles were transferred to Stanley Island, which is a pest-free Department of Conservation wildlife reserve in the Mercury Islands off the coast of Coromandel Peninsula. In the early 1990s, Hamilton Zoo provided a safe haven for 4 tuatara, which had been removed from Stanley Island so the Department of Conservation could carry out a pest eradication program. Hamilton Zoo curator Samantha Kurua says the intention has always been to breed and return these iconic reptiles to the island, and the current travellers represent 2 further successful breeding events, which will now go back to the island to boost the wild population. Waikato Hospital's new Māori chaplain says he feels greatly privileged to participate in the holistic health and well-being of all people coming to the hospital. Pastor Sunny Potapu started at the hospital earlier this month and joins Pastor Bruce Sligo, Sister Carmel, Reverend Daniel Sitterim, Father Gerard Boyce and Reverend Dr Jan Calvert on the chaplaincy team. Every year, chaplains at Waikato Hospital help nearly 30,000 patients, family and staff through hardship, trauma, loss and coping with all that a loved one's stay at the hospital involves. Victim Support is a community organisation that helps people hurt by crime and other trauma. Working closely with the New Zealand Police, they provide emotional and practical support every day of the year and would like to expand their current team. As Cheryl Crawford, Service Coordinator for Victim Support, explains, it takes a special type of person to be a victim support volunteer.
Yes, it does take a special type of person. It has to be someone that's got time to spend with victims and someone that can understand the needs of victims and be an advocate for victims as well. It's a lot of training involved and there's a lot of ongoing training, so you are well prepared before you are let out into the field to deal with our victims.
In sport, and the Northern Knights will be without hugely influential all-rounder Daniel Vettori for the Champions League 2020 tournament in India next month, after he withdrew from the Knights squad due to family health matters. The Northern District side that won the New Zealand domestic 2020 competition last season qualified for the lucrative tournament and will name a replacement for its 15-man squad. Vettori said he was hugely disappointed not to be able to play for the Knights in India, with Knights manager Pat Cole saying the team fully supported Vettori's decision, with family being more important than cricket. And finally, Hamilton City Council will fly its flag at half-mast for the rest of the week to acknowledge the passing of a former councillor and Deputy Mayor, Brian Impson. Mr Impson was a councillor from 1989 until 2004 and Deputy Mayor from 1998 until 2001 under the mayoralty of Russ Rimmington. He was also chairperson of a number of committees, including the Resource and Environment Committee, the Works and Services Committee, the Statutory Management Committee and the Regulatory Committee. Hamilton Mayor Julie Hardacre says Mr Impson was a committed and passionate councillor who worked tirelessly for the city. Taking a look at the marine forecast now, Raglan expect a northeast of 25 knots everywhere, sea becoming very rough, high tide at 12:15 tomorrow afternoon. Bay of Plenty rising on Friday to a northeast of 25 knots, sea becoming very rough in the north with a high tide 9:34 tomorrow morning. Still to come on Central News, we find out about a local book fair, catch up with the Mayor of Waipa District and find out about the Waikato Antique and Collectors Fair in Hamilton this weekend. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. With a region spanning more than 1,200 square kilometres and the industries that the Hauraki district is most well known for being farming, mining and more recently the growing tourism industry, Mayor John Tregejar speaks with Amanda about foreign investment and what it means for his district.
John, foreign investment can be quite a controversial decision for any council. What is the Hauraki District Council's stance on this?
Well, look, I have been now going to China for 15 years. I've just returned in the last few weeks, and I think I've had my 8th trip up there. So we have a very close relationship with Jiading, which is a part of Shanghai, and we have had a cultural exchange going for about 14 years. Look, I find this rather annoying about foreign ownership. For us, we are, right at this moment, have just signed up with a Beijing company and setting up an ice cream company, which is, I think people have heard about. And it's going to employ about 30, 40, 50 people, somewhere around there. We're looking at some other initiatives as well in partnership. The issue around ownership of land, I think, is something that is squarely with the central government. And I do believe it is a debate that the wider public need to engage in. To what level of it is, how much ownership do we want from overseas investors? But to single out Asia is totally inappropriate. This discussion needs to be about New Zealand.
It's almost a racial thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, and I find it rather frustrating, to be honest. No question, we have a free trade agreement with China. That has made huge gains for New Zealand, particularly around exports to China. And what we're doing is investing in, it's not so much land, this is about investing in production and factories. We're looking at a water factory as well at the moment, the export over there. Interesting, where there's some early discussions going on with iwi around fisheries and aquaculture and those. These are really good things. And look, Asia is our market of the future. It is huge growth. I think people dynamics just don't realise just the sheer growth that's happening up there.
So there's a lot of benefits for the people of your district.
Absolutely. Potentially. I think we've still got a long way to go, but we've this the education exchange, for instance, has really been fantastic because we've been hosting Chinese students in our homes, and it has broken down a lot of it. It's about investing in our young people. It's about our young people and our families understanding their culture, and our people going up there and getting a really good understanding of their culture. Quite different. Look, we have there'll be things that we don't agree with, but the reality is they are our market. It won't be Europe, and so I think it's there, it's happening, and anything about ownership needs to be a central government issue.
And so it's not just economically beneficial to the district, there's also a lot of other benefits involved.
Oh, there is. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can find out more about the Hauraki District Council's activities on their website, hauraki-dc.govt.nz. The Matamata Historical Society is holding their annual book fair to raise funds to pay homage to the Waikato's dairying past. Hilary caught up with a couple of members to find out what kind of books you can expect at the annual book fair.
Well, it's a book fair that the Matamata Historical Society runs every year, and we use it to raise funds for various projects that we have on the go out at the First Town Museum.
Now, if we'd like to donate some books, do they have to be of pristine condition, or does anything go?
Basically anything goes. We'll take anything from children's books through to encyclopedias and fiction, non-fiction, in whatever condition.
So Lorna, what are some of the, you've got them in categories, don't you? What are some of the categories that you've got?
We have 3 categories, for instance, for fiction. First of all, there's the good fiction novels, and then the ones that have been well read and a bit patchy, and then we've got the little ones like the little Mills and Boons, and then we have children's books, and then we've also got a category called for sort of teenagers or older children, and then we have sport, rugby, war, royalty, history. There's a wide range of books that we have, yes.
If there's a book put out on the subject, it generally can be found there.
Health, gardening, magazines.
Sounds like
and jigsaws.
Yes.
Jigsaws as well?
Yes.
Wow, sounds like you've got everything.
Yes, we have.
CDs, DVDs, videos, If people want to get rid of it, we accept it and see if we can use it to help raise funds.
So what is the Society raising the funds for?
This year it's mainly to go towards developing our dairy shed building, which is going to be a display of all the dairying industry from very early on, from hand milking days right through to, there'll be things right up till today.
Well, what was the hand milking days like? What's the technology like compared to now?
Well, there was no technology. You just put your hand on and squeezed it into a bucket. And we then went to milking machines. We had one milking machine we were putting in, which was a very old milking machine. We got a phone call from someone else when this other one was almost finished, and they said, "We've got an old milking machine, would you like it?" So we said, "I'll have a look." Went and had a look, and it's even older than the one that we originally had, and so it works too.
Well, it sounds like the funds are going to a very good cause, a little bit of history to the dairying industry in the Waikato.
That's right.
The book fair will be held from Thursday, October the 2nd to Saturday, October the 4th, and you can donate books at 130 Broadway. Still to come on Central News, we speak with the Mayor of the Waipa District, Jim Milcreast, and find out about the Waikato Collectors Fair happening this weekend in Hamilton. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The Waikato Antique Bottle and Collectibles Club will be holding their biennial Collectors Fair this weekend at Hamilton Gardens Pavilion in Hamilton. It will feature an antique bottle and collectibles show, along with sales tables with antiques, collectibles, postcards, vintage and retro items for sale. I spoke with President Les Vuletic recently to find out what visitors can expect to see.
This year, the main theme is the 100 years of military New Zealand activity throughout the world, and there'll be two major exhibits of that. The First World War trench replicating a dugout, and also an exhibit of the mounted rifles, because the Waikato sent a lot of young men there in the mounted divisions, and so that will be a static main displays. The others will be displays of interest, which are vast and varied, that people have collected, and this will range from Victorian costumes, jewellery, through to postcards, militaria, bottles. When we mention bottles, these are old and antique bottles, and that which tell a story of the social history of New Zealand, and that creates a lot of interest too. But there's so many different displays in that. There's antique dolls, there's antique toys, there's antique woodworking equipment and tools, and that which will generate a lot of interest, I'm sure, to the men.
Tell me about the militaria theme for this year.
Each year, well, biannually, we select a theme, something that's associated with New Zealand, their culture, heritage. And this year, because of the 100 years anniversary of New Zealand's military association throughout the world, we have decided to do the First World War campaign. And it's well worth, I think, displaying to show people.
I understand there's going to be an authentic trench on display. Who designed it?
Yes, Graham Pettigrew from Atiamutu. He's the builder of it, and it's quite a large module, and it's a trench, but it's a New Zealand dugout, and that's where the officers and main communications was kept, and you look down into it, and it's as authentic as it could possibly be of that period of time. I think it enforces the harshness of the battle situations that they were in when you look into it, and that. So that's quite an outstanding exhibit on its own.
As well as your static displays, you're also going to have loads of stalls selling collectibles. What types of things are going to be for sale?
Yes, we always have a large assortment of collectors that are selling their interests and that. And that is actually a varied collection of collectibles. If we say collectibles, it can be anything from bric-a-brac, stamps, coins, postcards, jewellery. There's a varied... If you're collecting, I'm sure you'll find something there to suit.
Is the fair a place to bring items to be valued or ask advice on?
Myself and my son Mark, we're invited to go and do antique roadshows. So if people come to the front admission area and just say what they have and ask, is there someone here? The people at the front will direct them to us, and we'll be only too pleased to help them, explain what they have, and also an approximate valuation. Kitchenalia.
I'm extremely interested to learn about this. What is kitchenalia?
Kitchenalia is a term that's used for anything to do with the kitchen. When we talk of the kitchen, it can be beaters, old Crowland mixing bowls, it can be early knives, anything to do that was used in the older days to do with preparing food. Even down to colourful, ornate flour sacks, so a lot of people collect them. But it's mainly from a Victorian era right through to the 30s and 40s, and it generates a lot of interest.
How did you get started collecting?
I started when I was about 8 years old. I had some uncles that returned from the Korean War, and at my grandmother's place up at Whangarei, they had this beautiful camphor wood Japanese chest. And I used to sneak up the front room and I opened the top up, and it was all full of badges and buttons, and I was just fascinated with them and wasn't allowed to keep them. And of course that generated my interest in militaria, and I followed it right through with myself and my son. And it's mainly the historical aspect of militaria that we're interested in.
The Collectors Fair is on this Saturday, the 30th of August from 10 till 5 and Sunday the 31st from 9:30 till 4 at the Hamilton Gardens Pavilion, Cobham Drive in Hamilton. Up next, we catch up with Mayor of Waipa District, Jim Milcreast. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The Waipa District Council are preparing their draft 10-year plan and have launched a campaign to engage with the community to hear what Waipa people have to say early on in the process and on a wide range of issues. Mayor of Waipa District, Jim Milcreast, spoke with me recently about whether the public and the council are on the same page.
Well, it was very early on in the process, but I think the really major issue, of course, is in particular for Waipa, and I think probably the rest of the country as well, as water supply and sewage disposal. It's one of the major issues. But overriding that, it's always a case of trying to manage the rates so that they're affordable for most people, and that is always a challenge for council.
Water is a major issue for the Waipa District and could have implications on what else you can afford. What concerns you most?
Yes, well, water is of course always termed an essential service, but you know, with people using 250 litres each per day, there's a huge wastage of water, I suppose, going on throughout the district. So in terms of providing water, yes, we have a certain level that we must provide, but then there's a discretionary level as well. But having said that, there is some significant costs facing the district, that's both Te Awamutu and Cambridge, with our supplies. In terms of Te Awamutu, it's the headworks, and Cambridge it's pipework and trying to keep the pressures up. So we have some significant costs. Most of those will be loan funded, and that's a sensible way to fund projects like that because it spreads the cost over the life of the asset and the users at the time pay for it.
Are the ideas and concerns coming from the public the same as the council or different? Are you all on the same page?
Well, no, they're not all on the same page, of course. And I suppose council's ideas do reflect the community, but everybody's got different projects that they're interested in. Some people want a library, other people want bike trails, and then the council's left, I suppose, as the parents of the organisation to sort out where the kids' Christmas presents go. So, you do have to balance the demands of the community. But nobody says we want to come and live in Waipa District or Te Awamutu or Cambridge based on the fact that we've got good water and sewerage. They want to come for the amenities. And that's about, in sort of normal situations, that takes about 10% of our budget, I suppose, in terms of capital projects.
How long is the community consultation going to run for?
Well, it starts now, of course, but it'll run right through until about February, March next year. As the formal process concludes before we publicise the final plan.
And how can people get in touch? How can they be heard?
They can get in touch either directly through our website or through social media pages, or by talking to their councillors and making formal written submissions.
For more details, see the Waipa District Council Facebook page or go to waipadc.govt.nz. Time to take a look at the weather now. Hamilton, a few spots of rain with easterlies freshening and a high of 15 degrees with a low of 7 overnight. Around the region, Pāroa expect a high of 15 with a low of 8. Matamata, a high of 13 and low of 9. Te Awamutu, 15 your high with a low of 7. And Tokoroa, your high is 12 with a low of 5. Tauranga expect a cloudy day with late showers and easterly wind and a high of 15 degrees, 8 your low. And taking a look around the bay, Te Puke can expect a high of 13 degrees with 8 your low. And that's Central News for today, Thursday the 28th of August 2014. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you join our Facebook page. Let us know of news in your community. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.